This is episode 37 with Sahara Rose.
Every ounce of your being is made up of molecules of energy vibrating at different frequencies that determine your experience here on planet Earth.
This podcast's intention is to inspire you to elevate the vibration of your energy for yourself and for all of us. This is The Elevator.
Hop on in and ride into the ethers with Britt and Tara of Elevate the Globe.
For me to live my truth is the only way for me to truly be a good daughter, because I won't be able to be a good daughter if I give up what it is that I really, truly want to do, because for the rest of my life, I'm going to be resentful for them.
This episode is sponsored by Rise Up, a course in high vibrational living. And this is our 8-week online course designed to help you tap into this spiritual lifestyle that we use every day to really make our dreams and our wishes and everything we want a reality, and to really dive deep to heal, awaken our power, our purpose, and to elevate our awareness and our consciousness. So we are so excited to be launching live on October 12th. It closes October 11th, and you have a lifetime access. We have a huge family that will be going through it together. Really, Rise Up is a community, a powerful family, and we all support and help each other.
So over the 8 weeks, we really dive into ancient practices, including Kundalini yoga, of course, Ayurvedic philosophies, meditation, shamanic astrology, hermetics, numerology, plant-based recipes, and really plant-based eating and why that is important. And also really powerful mindset training. And it's a full chakra clearing, opening, and balancing course. So we're really coming out of this fully feeling renewed, and we're really able to reconnect to the infinite energy of the universe and get divine downloads on demand, so you can really create the life that you've always wanted and one that you may not have thought you could have achieved.
Absolutely. And that's really what this lifestyle and these practices have done for us. So we wanted to deliver it in a way that we could teach and share this with anybody and everyone who feels called to it. And so it's why we created Rise Up. It is such a powerful program. We have seen alumni have the most transformative, incredible results. And we're actually going to have one of our alumni here, Elizabeth O'Neill, in our lobby today to share more about it. And we've been sharing so many incredible stories. So definitely check out more online. We want you guys to learn about everything that's included. We have all the details and all the information over on the site. So head over to elevatetheglobe.com/rise up to check it all out
and join us. So we have 2 options that you can choose from. So we have the Rise Up course, and we also have the VIP Rise Up Higher, which really is it's an additional 2 private 1-hour calls with either Britt or myself. And we also have payment plans for both. So it makes it really affordable for everyone.
We cannot wait to see you in, and we're so excited for this next incredible journey with so many of you. Hi guys, and welcome back. Today's episode is such a great one that we know you guys will love so much. We have Sahara Rose on the podcast, and we'll share more about her, but we actually have known her for a while now and have been following her work. And when did we first meet her?
I don't even remember, honestly, but I do remember, like, what sticks out in my mind is we were all together at the Longevity Now conference.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Okay. You know what? I think I first met her at Sage Wellness.
Yeah, there you go.
At the Almost 30 podcast event.
Yeah.
And then, we saw her at Longevity Now. I saw her at Whitma.
Yeah, and then we did a Shaman Durek class together with Jordan. And so it's just been kind of a long journey.
Yeah, we're just kind of like always gravitating towards the same events and things, which is normal.
Exactly.
So yeah, we're loving this conversation, and it was so fun to have her on the podcast to really share and dive into Ayurveda with you guys and really her journey. And she's manifested so many amazing things with a new book coming out that she talks about, and Deepak Chopra writing her forewords, and another book that she has, The Idiot's Guide to Ayurveda, which is such a great resource.
And we also talk about all of the doshas and just really how to identify if you have one or all of them out of balance at any given time. So there's lots of information in this episode, and we just had an amazing, enlightening time talking to Sahara. And, it's nice and fun always to have one of our friends join us. So we're excited again for you guys to listen and enjoy.
Yeah, so many great tips in this one.
Yeah.
Like having a better relationship with your poop.
That was Britt's favorite part of the episode.
All right, so enjoy. And if you're not already, you can follow us over on Instagram at Elevate the Globe. And we love it when you guys screenshot when you're listening on your favorite parts and tag us and the guest. We love to repost those. And also, if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe, rate, and review the podcast. And if you send us a screenshot of your review to the elevator at elevatetheglobe.com, we'll send you our magic morning checklist.
So we're here with Sahara Rose, who is a best-selling author of The Idiot's Guide to Ayurveda, which is the #1 best-selling Ayurvedic book globally. And she's also having a new book coming out, Eat, Feel Fresh, a plant-based Ayurvedic cookbook, which we're so excited to talk to her about. And she's been called a leading voice for the millennial generation into the new paradigm shift by Deepak Chopra, who also wrote the foreword to both of her books. And she is good friends with him as well. And she also has a podcast called The Highest Self Podcast. And we're just so excited to have you joining us, Sahara. Welcome.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, ladies.
Yay! Yeah, we're so excited to get into everything about your life and what's happening with you and Ayurveda, and really sharing so much with our audience about how they can get into this lifestyle. But first, we'd love for you to share your elevator pitch, just telling a little bit more about who you are and what you do.
Yeah, so I make Ayurveda, which is the world's oldest health system, modern and approachable. I love to take the doshas, which we'll talk about, the archetypes of Ayurveda, and apply them to all areas of our life. So not just food and well-being, but I also love looking at them in relationships we were just talking about, and entrepreneurship, and helping put language to these patterns that we observe in all areas of our lives and really ground them down in the ancient beliefs.
Beautiful.
Amazing. Yeah, no, because I think a lot of times we do hear Ayurveda with recipes, which of course is such a big part of it, but it does go so much deeper into all areas of our lives. So we love just knowing you and, having met you and been following your journey, know that you really do take it into all of the depths of your life and share other people how to do the same. So we love how you do that.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's very much like a modern approach, you know? You definitely, it's fun on your Instagram. We were looking, like, you talk about how all of the doshas are in relationships, how they're getting massages together, the different things that they say to each other, and how their calendars look. And it's just kind of fun to really go into it in more of a lifestyle aspect versus just kind of like a food aspect.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
So,
yeah.
Love it. Awesome. Well, we'd love to hear a little bit about your journey and how you got into this whole world and kind of what propelled you to learn all about it. And we know it's an exciting journey that you've had kind of getting here.
Yeah. So when I was a little kid. Since this is a very spiritual podcast, I can talk more about my spiritual journey. But
yes,
I was at home a few months ago and I was going through like all my old stuff because my parents are moving out of the house I grew up in. And I found this Valentine that I had written for my parents when I was in kindergarten. And it just says, "I'm not who you think I am." And I just like gave it to them. They're probably like, "Okay, thank you." So I obviously came into this world knowing I am not this physical body. I'm not this human experience, but I'm here right now. So I gotta make the best of it. So when I was a kid, I was super into witchcraft because I grew up in Boston and Salem, Massachusetts was nearby. So I was always going to Salem and putting together potions and doing all these rituals. Like the kids thought I was so crazy. I remember I was with we were three friends and we were witches and we would do all these like different like pilgrimages and go to the north, south, east, west of like the playground and like honor the directions. And, I didn't learn this stuff. No one around me was doing it. It was just coming through. And everything I would find, I would create a ritual out of it. I would go on vacation and find a coconut and be like, it's the coconut ritual, and like start doing all these like crazy spooky things. And people were like a little bit afraid of me, but they were also afraid if they didn't do it, I would like cast a spell on them. So I definitely had that intuitive download that I think all children do. But when I was in fourth grade, I remember I was walking by like a group of the kids in fourth grade and they said, "There's the witch, burn her at the stake." And this boy, he was wearing one of these casts that you can walk in, those like really like heavy kind of metal ones. And he like jumped behind me and we're on top of this like really steep hill. He jumped behind me and we start rolling down the hill, like colliding into each other. And then his steel like shoe thing hit my head and I got a concussion and all the kids were just laughing. So I knew then that it is not safe for me to be my weird spiritual self. Like I'm literally going to get burned at the stake. Like this is already happening to me. And it's so interesting because right now I'm doing all this like body rework stuff. And then I had forgotten about this incident. And the first thing the guy said, he's like, "You fell on your left side and it caused trauma throughout your whole body. And it's affected the way that you walk, the way that your posture is, even the shape of your face, it's affected." And you don't realize that these little incidences like that, it's like not only like physically, but with everything, it sort of was like, "Nope, this is not safe. Don't do this." So I went, just tried to be normal, like academic, get good grades, this, that. And eventually I came back to being more spiritual. And during this time, my food journey was I was overweight and then I started to practice yoga and then I got healthier. So I kind of came back, but not so much of just like being like super like spiritual and esoteric, but really grounded in yoga. Yoga was sort of my entry point into this world. And I started practicing yoga, started to learn more and reading books like people like Deepak Chopra, et cetera. And going down this like yogic lifestyle. And at the same time, I was like doing a lot of volunteer work and I always loved India. And I decided I was going to go live in India, doing volunteer work, teaching health and sanitation in the slums. And it was when I was in India that my health really started to deteriorate. And I started to have really bad digestive issues, like to the point that I couldn't eat food. Everything I ate would really hurt my stomach. I would faint all the time. I lost 30 pounds. Most of my hair fell out. I didn't get my period for 2 years. I would constantly injure my bones. Like all of these issues were happening. And when I came back home, I went to every kind of doctor you could imagine, and no one knew the problem. The gastroenterologist was like, "Oh, you have IBS." And then the endocrinologist is like, "You have hypothalamic amenorrhea," which basically means your mind is telling your body it's not safe enough to reproduce, but we don't know why. So I was like, "So I'm infertile. I'm 21 years old." And they were like, "Oh, well, it's fine. You can get IVF one day. Like, don't worry about it. Just get back on the pill." And no one was getting to the root of my problem. Like, why couldn't I digest? Why didn't I feel good? Why did it take me so long to fall asleep each night? It would take me like 4 hours to sleep. I could barely sleep. I was anxious all the time, like just, mentally, physically, spiritually out of balance. And also in my life, I didn't know what I was doing. I was, went to school to be a human rights lawyer. Then suddenly this massive health thing happened and that brought me to this other journey. But I never wanted to do this. Like I was not interested in wellness at all. I had to become interested in it to just help myself. And that's when I decided I would start to learn about Ayurveda, just because I had tried everything and nothing was working. So it was kind of like a last resort for me. And the moment that I started to learn about Ayurveda, I remember the Ayurvedic doctor I went to, the first thing when she saw me, she said, Beta, which means daughter. She's like, oh, you're too pretty to never have a baby. And I'm like, what? How does she know that I can't have kids? And she could just tell from my eyes, from my tongue, from all of these indicators that are speaking out to us what's going on with our health. So I started to learn more about Ayurveda and became really fascinated about it. And I realized that all of the problems I had were a vata imbalance, too much air in my system, which we can talk about. And that was creating the bloating, gas, constipation, low hormones, anxiety, insomnia. All of these things were interconnected. So Ayurveda really gave me a roadmap of what this is, what I can do about it. But at the same time, a lot of the practices were like really old school, or they didn't make sense to me, or I didn't know how to integrate them in my lifestyle. That's when I decided I would try to create my own approach to it. And I sort of received the download that I needed to write this book. So I wrote a book about Ayurveda, which took not instantly, it took 2 years to write. And then eventually I found a literary agent and a publisher, and then I wrote The Idiot's Guide to Ayurveda. And now I have my new book, which are the recipes that really healed my life. And what this whole journey taught me was to look within for your answers, that your body, that your mind are always telling you what is going on, and that when you observe your physical symptoms, that is actually also telling you spiritually what's going on. So it begins with food, it begins with lifestyle and self-care, but it really, that's just like scratching the surface level of what Ayurveda is. And Ayurveda is deeply a spiritual practice that begins and resonates with the state of the mind and the body.
Oh, what a journey. That's so incredible how you kind of were spiritual as a child, and then you turned it off and you found it again. And then through the struggle of the wellness, you were able to kind of dive within your purpose and really heal yourself. It's pretty incredible.
Thank you.
Yeah. Wow. I love your story about when you were a kid too.
Yeah, that's fun. I love that.
Yeah. I think all of us kids, we come in super tapped in, and then something makes us forget. And then it's up to us to try to unlearn and uncondition and remember who it is that we came in like. And I think for a lot of people, food or yoga is their entry point, and it brings them back into the spirituality that they intrinsically had.
Yes. Yeah. I know. As a mama, that's kind of my main goal, is to not have Everest have to go through that. But everybody has their own journeys. I'm just thinking, if I got a Valentine from her saying, I'm not who you think I am.
I know. That's pretty impressive.
You're neither am I.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Oh wow.
But yeah, it's so true. And so did your parents kind of help you? Were they spiritual too, or did they help you kind of get
my
back?
My parents were my biggest learning lesson.
Okay.
Because they were not spiritual. In fact, really against everything I was doing. I realized that growing up, like so many of us do, we wanted to get approval from our parents, get good grades, this, that. And then suddenly when I was going down this path of I want to write and teach Ayurveda, which they didn't even know what Ayurveda was. No one knew what Ayurveda was. This is 7 years ago. And they were really scared for me. They were scared that I wouldn't be able to provide for myself, that I was, that this thing didn't even make sense. They were telling me, well, if you want to be a doctor, then get a medical degree, but this is not a real doctor. And all of these, fears that society puts in our heads that were really being echoed down to me by my parents. And really it had to get to a point that my relationship with my parents had deteriorated so much. I was living in India. I eventually lived in Bali, and we were constantly fighting because they didn't understand why I would, why can't I just get a normal job? Why can't I live a normal life? Why can't I just be happy, just doing the things that everyone else does? Why did I feel the need to have something more. What am I even looking for? They didn't really understand what is the need for seeking. And it's like Maslow's hierarchy, and it's like the chakras as well. Yeah, so it really was my life's greatest journey. And what it taught me was that you have to stay true to yourself. And a lot of times people will come forth with their own fears and their own insecurities, which stem from their own conditioning and their own upbringing. And it's like Maslow's hierarchy. At the bottom is survival. And when your survival needs are not met, that's all you're going to care about. And then once those survival needs are met, it is, okay, what do you want? Maybe you want a nice house. Maybe you want a car. And then from there, you start to go after your desires. And then from there, you go up to self-actualization, which is realizing that none of these things really matter, but the only thing that matters is truth. So it wasn't making sense for them because they were, immigrants, and a lot of their journey was survivalhood. So why would I just put myself in danger and go to all these places to seek this truth that for them was never a top priority? And for a lot of people, especially more in our generation, we are so fortunate to have grown up and been safe and been secure and not to have to worry about am I going to be able to be safe in my country or have a bomb thrown on my head? My mom grew up in war. She was a refugee. So of course that's not going to make sense for her, for me to I'm just going to live in India. But at the same time, you can't let other people's fears and experiences hold you back. And I had to gain a lot of strength to be able to kind of say to the people who I love and respect the most that this is who I am. And again, this is a long journey of a lot of tears and turbulence. But eventually I point that I realized that for me to live my truth is the only way for me to truly be a good daughter, because I won't be able to be a good daughter if I give up what it is that I really truly want to do, because for the rest of my life I'm going to be resentful for them. So really the only way for this relationship to work is for me to just go out there and give this thing a shot with everything I had. And I never knew an author. I didn't know anything about the book writing process, none of it, but something told me that this was just going to happen. And I continue to hold that vision of my book in Barnes and Nobles and bringing Ayurveda and just helping people like me who were so confused and scared and gone through so many diets and were looking for the answer. And I had to eventually get to a point that I didn't speak to my family and was totally by myself, but still held on to that vision. And now, years later, they're really happy about what I do and they're proud of me. And I really would have never seen this day, but it only happened because I was willing to really let go.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. I was going to ask you how they feel about it now. How long did you go not talking to them?
I mean, I would text the word alive to my mom. Because I knew it was past that we would get into an argument, but she was just so scared for me because I was living in Goa, South India, and I was just traveling. I was in the Osho ashram. I was just in. So I would text the word alive every day for a year. And
oh my gosh.
That was
wow.
And and then she would sometimes be like, "Oh, how are you?" And then I would tell her "Oh, today I did this waterfall ritual in Bali." And then, "Oh my God, you're going to drown, blah, 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 blah," all these fears. And then I was just this is so much. And, even though I was in Bali and these amazing places, I was in constant anguish because I was always just am I doing the right thing? Am I actually being selfish? Because that was their whole thing. You trying to follow your own path is extremely selfish. No one's supposed to do that. You're supposed to do what makes everyone around you happy. That's what I was growing up with. So for me to just do my own thing was to be a huge narcissistic bitch. Whereas for a lot of people, that's actually your human right. So it was a lot of rewiring, a lot of reprogramming, and not to feel guilty about wanting to be my own person.
Yeah, I love that. I feel like a lot of people who are stepping into doing really great work in the world, they're just really being true to themselves, kind of have that with their parents right now. I feel like there's a lot of people that are going through that. And I think just because our parents grew up in a different kind of world, I really feel even our grandparents were, different world from them. So it's it's kind of our job to always sort of step out. I feel like it's our kids' job to step out further than us. It's our job to step out further than our parents and get more aligned to our true nature, what we really want to be doing here on the planet. So I love that.
Exactly. Yes.
Can be painful though, right?
God.
For sure. But it's like, if I realized, like, if I'm able to go against my parents and still be my own person, then anyone else that tries to tell me what to do, it's like, no, absolutely not. So it really gives you a level of strength that no other experience really could.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And I think for like everybody listening, it is so important to hear these kind of stories, because a lot of times so many people are held back by those kinds of things, and to just see that, the people who are going to come around will come around. The people that are supposed to be in your life, normally your parents, the people closest to you, they will come back around,
Totally.
Exactly. And on some soul level contract, like, you chose your parents and you chose this experience and these lessons, and they also chose you. And just to constantly remind yourself of that, like, okay, what am I here to learn from this? And also, what are they here to learn about this? Like, now my mom, like, she's like, oh, your son is so, her son, my brother, is so cough and balanced right now. And like, she's like, the terminology all the time. When she was like, or the other day, this past week, Deepak was at Harvard, and she went to the talk, and she went up to him and talked to him, and he was like, oh my God, you should be so proud of Sahara. She's so amazing. He's like, yeah, she's like, I'm so proud of her. And I'm like, little does he know, like, you are not at all. But it's like, your parents, honestly, they put up these blocks because they're so scared for you. They're so scared that you're not going to be able to survive. And then once they see that you are, like, that's all that really matters. They just want you to be happy. And for them, being safe is like a prerequisite to being happy.
Yeah. Totally
Definitely.
makes sense.
Yeah.
You're right. Yeah.
It's so true. And those soul contracts, like, a lot of times, people like us are put into families that need, to have a child or somebody really close to them to, like, help them expand and grow, where it wouldn't happen otherwise. So it's really helping everyone involved.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That's pretty cool that she went up to Deepak and had him say that.
Yeah.
I love that. Well, we have so many questions about Ayurveda, but I think it would be cool for you to share a little bit about your story about meeting Deepak and how he wrote your books and all of that while we're on that topic.
Yeah. So as I mentioned, I started to read Deepak's books when I was 12 years old, and he was always the person that, when my mom would be repeating herself, I'm like, did you know Deepak Chopra says 80% of your thoughts are already thought about the day before, so therefore you should not waste your time thinking about them? And I was like always quoting him. They're like, oh my God, stop. And he was like that person. They're like, oh, who do you want for dinner? I'm like, Deepak Chopra. Like, who's your celebrity? Deepak. Like, he was just that person for me. So obviously when I wrote this book, The Idiot's Guide to Ayurveda, which miraculously got hired to write this book. I didn't call it Idiot's Guide to Ayurveda. It's actual part of the Idiot's Guide series, like Idiot's Guide to Gardening, Idiot's Guide to Mowing Your Lawn, etc. So it was like an incredible accomplishment to be able to write this book. But I was also so scared because who am I? I'm too young. People are going to question me, etc. So I was always thinking, oh my God, wouldn't it be so amazing if I could give this book to Deepak to write a quote or like something for the book, something. But again, I didn't know anyone that knew him. I had no connections to him. So I was just holding the vision in my mind. And a friend of mine who I met online through this like Facebook group, he was in New York and he was like, hey, let's meet up. I'm going to be at this yoga and science conference. So I decided to go, and it was just like about science and yoga taught by college professors. It wasn't any headliners or anything. So I went and was there the whole day. And it was honestly like, all these scientific charts, like why breathing is good for you. Here's 12 million researches about why it's good for you. It's like, okay, I don't need to know. I'll just breathe. So I was like, oh my God. In my head, I was thinking, okay, the only thing that can make right now like lit is if Deepak Chopra walks on stage. And they're like, okay, time for lunch. Oh, and here's our sponsor, Deepak Chopra. And he just walks on stage. He's like, hello. And he walks off. And that was my first time even seeing him in person. Yeah. So I'm like, okay, this is it. I have to go say something. If I don't say something now, I'm probably never going to see him again in my whole life. So I need to say something. And this is an auditorium of 1,000 people at Long Island University. So I walk, like, shove my way down this crowd. I walk up the stairs, onto stage, go to the back of the stage, and I just see him and I just wait and stand next to him until he's done talking to someone. He's like looking at me like, who are you? And I'm like, hey, Mr. Deepak, Dr. Chopra, hey, like freaking out. And I was like, so I went to your daughter's meditations at Unplug, and I know your son's son goes to school with my cousin. I like start like rambling about all these ways that I'm like connected to him. He's like, okay, great. And then I'm like, also, I wrote this book, Idiot's Guide to Deepak. Idiot's Guide to Deepak Chopra. Oh my God, imagine. No, Idiot's Guide to Ayurveda. Like I'm writing the Idiot's Guide to No, I wrote this book, Idiot's Veda. It is about to be published and I would love to send it over to you to review. And he was like, okay, sure. So he gives me his email and I send him over the book. I'm like shitting my pants. Holy crap. I have Deepak Chopra's email address. This is the best day of my life. And so my friend, she's really into Abraham Hicks. She's like, well, what do you really want? I'm like, well, for him to write a foreword of my book. She's like, well, why don't you just ask him that? I'm like, no, I just met him for like half a second. Like, I can't ask him that. She was like, well, if that's what you really want, you should like envision it happening and like telling me all these like things. I didn't even know who Abraham Hicks was at that point. So I was like, okay, sure, I'll envision it. And then I started to do, actually, this is a very Kundalini thing. I would like do these meditations that I was like staring at his pictures, like connecting to his soul.
Oh my God. The Chakdam.
Yeah, they for Yogi Bhajan.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like connecting on a soul level to Deepak, and I sent him the PDF of my book. It was literally going to be printed on that Monday, and this is a Saturday. So I was like, okay, he's going to have to like read the book and write a quote in like one day on a Sunday for this to work out, but I'm still going to hold that space. So I send him the book and then he immediately responds. He's like, what's your number? I'm going to call you. I'm like, oh. And I give him my number. I'm like, this is like literally like voice of God right now, because I used to like fall asleep listening to his audiobooks, etc. Anyways, so he calls me, he tells me that he wants to meet with me and like ask me some questions. And he was going to be in San Diego the next day. I was actually flying back to LA. So I got back, went to San Diego. I went to his lecture, which was amazing. It was a 4-hour long lecture. And it was like, I was just even trying to get used to being in his vortex. Right. And then after I was like, I can't believe I'm going to have a meeting with this guy. So I have a meeting with him and his team, and they, ask me questions and get to know me. And then after, I guess it went well. And he was like, you know what? I really love what you're doing. I would love to support your work and write a foreword for your book and have you join the faculty of Jaya, which is his online platform. And before I knew it, he's like sharing us on Instagram. He wrote the foreword of my book. He wrote obviously a quote for my book. We did a 31-day challenge together on his platform called Jaya. He like texts me funny videos of dogs all the time. Like,
oh my God.
Really, because one, I held the vision, but also, I think that this is what the manifestation conversation misses, is like the action. And even though I didn't have like a literary agent or this, I still wrote the book and got paid all of my money to get it edited and graphic design. I was doing the work. I was acting as if this was already happening. So when I had the opportunity to meet him, I wasn't saying, oh, one day I want to write an Ayurveda book. One day I'm going to do this. It was like, no, I have the book. I'm published by Penguin. Like, here's everything set up. And also, this is an amazing opportunity for you because you can introduce this book and bring it to a mass number of young people who, a lot of people who are 20, maybe people listening to this have no idea who Deepak Chopra is. So I think that, it's like luck is where preparation meets opportunity. And I had the opportunity and I had done the preparation, and that's why it manifested.
Oh, I love it.
So incredible. Yeah. And I mean, you had been like visioning it and manifesting it in your own way for your whole life almost, with just.
Yeah. And also the reason why it was even in my head was because I was meant to meet him. Because why else would I be like, Deepak Chopra? It's like, obviously something in my DNA was like, you need to connect to this guy somehow. And, and I think that's with everything, everything that is meant to happen for us. We have hunches of it, but then sometimes we're like, oh, that's just a stupid thought, and we shove it aside. But it's literally directing us in our soul's direction.
So interesting. What popped into my mind right now is my current obsession with Jared Leto all of a sudden. I'm like, I must be meant to meet him.
I think a lot of girls have that obsession, but
right? Hey,
I
can manifest it.
Seeing him around, I feel like he's like spiritual, so it could totally happen.
Totally. Right? Yeah, he's kind of our people,
Oh, I love that story though. It's such so inspirational to just like hear about that. And it is so much about the action and having that preparation and acting like before you necessarily maybe have like a concrete opportunity in front of you. And then like the whole part of you going up to him and talking to him is such a huge part of the action, like pushing through any fears and just seizing opportunity when it presents itself and like using your intuition to know that like, I got to go up to him now.
Totally. And I think there's so many times in our lives that we see people like, oh, like I've seen that person's Instagram, but it's weird for me to like go up to her in person or, oh, that guy's cute, but that would be so weird. And it's like, you never know what could have happened.
It's very true. You never know.
Yeah. No.
Oh,
I love that. It's so awesome to see because I remember seeing your stories when you were in New York. I don't know how long that was when you like first connected to him and just kind of like how it's grown as far as your relationship and everything you're doing since then. So it's exciting to hear the whole journey from you and kind of how it started.
Yeah. It's crazy. It was just a year and a half ago.
Wow. What?
Mm-hmm.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Pretty fast. Your whole life was sort of accumulating to this point though, right? Before it's sort of, because we've noticed in the last, I guess it has been about the last year that I've noticed you getting way more, like your just vortex is like spinning around you faster and faster. And you're just creating so much more energy. And it's exciting for you. I feel we're excited for you to watch you, grow and become bigger and brighter and reach more people.
Thank you. Yes. Yeah. I think for me, a lot of it was because before I was a food blogger, like my book is called Eat, Feel Fresh, but that's actually what I blogged as for 7 years. And then about also a year and a half ago, around the time that I met Deepak, which is amazing because in my Vedic astrology chart, that's when I kind of shifted my doshas, my time cycles. But I let go of even being behind the name of Eat, Feel Fresh, which limited me to only talk about like food related things and switched it to just my name, I am Sahara Rose, and opened it up to just talk about anything in my life. So, it's just this constant unveiling. And the more true to yourself you get, the faster that vortex spins.
Absolutely. I agree with that. So I would love to kind of go into the Ayurveda. And really, I think for the first question really have is about, for somebody who may not have an actual health issue or one that's known to them, can you explain why it might be important to be following Ayurveda? Because it is kind of a lifestyle.
Totally. Yeah. So, Ayurveda is the world's oldest health system, and it's the sister science of yoga. So yoga is the practice to yoke, to become one with Brahma, universal source consciousness. So really, it's a spiritual practice. Even the word asana means to sit. It is to move your body to be able to sit in stillness. That's actually the point of it. So yoga is spiritual practice. Ayurveda is the predecessor. It says, well, you cannot leave your body and become one with source and seek enlightenment when you have really bad digestive issues and your back hurts and you're anxious and your bones are aching and all of these problems are holding you back because they're holding you back in the physical body. It's like when you're in a hospital, all you can think about is, how can I get healthy? How can I get healthy? And then once you're healthy, then you can start to think about all of the things that you want to do. So Ayurveda is a physical and mental practice, not just for when your body is in crippling pain, but how you can prevent that with everyday practices. And really, it comes down to knowing your unique body type. So there are 3 doshas, 3 energy types or archetypes. And we're all a combination of all 3, and we can talk about what they each are. But knowing your dosha, knowing the dosha of the season, there are seasonal shifts as well. Like in summertime, it's more hot, it's more pitta. Fall time, which we're transitioning to now, it's more cool and dry, more vata. And then winter, early spring, it's more cold and wet, kapha. So there are seasonal shifts happening. There are daily shifts happening between the hours of the day. So Ayurveda really helps you understand what's going on around you so you can live your best life for right now.
Love that. Yeah, it's such a good way to describe it. And like we, of course, all of us are so into like being proactive and preventative. So of course, it would be so much better if people started doing all of these things before, a symptom arised. But even if somebody does have health issues, I love how Ayurveda really gets to the root of it. And there are so many different little tweaks that we can do to really shift everything about our health. So I love how you talked about like not only the pitta vata kapha, but also like the seasonal and the daily things. So for somebody just getting started, like what do you normally kind of tell people? Because I think it can be a little overwhelming for some people who are new to it.
Yes. So the first thing that you want to know is what dosha is out of balance. And even if you don't have a health problem, a health problem is really like the furthest end of a manifestation. But the way it starts is, I feel kind of bloated. Like I'm kind of noticing my shoulder hurts. I'm kind of noticing I have trouble sleeping. Like these are actual symptoms that later on can turn into like way more extreme forms. But really the best time to stop them is now. So knowing where your imbalances are. So for Vata people tend to be more creative and eccentric and out of the box. Like both of you, but especially Britt, has a lot of Vata. So Tara has more Pitta. So Vata people are really like creative, eccentric, like they're big picture people. They're good at like strategizing, seeing the long-term vision. But then when it comes to like executing and how we're going to get there, they're like, anyone like help? So for them, their creativity can sometimes, if not balanced, Vata is air energy, right? So the air is creative, ever moving. But when you're not able to control the thoughts, ground the thoughts, it can turn into a tornado. And that's when anxiety happens. That's when insomnia happens, forgetfulness, brain fog. We even have the words in this language, like you're an airhead or a space head, a space cadet, head in the clouds, right? So we're talking about being airy. We just don't have that Sanskrit word for it, Vata. So because of that, they need to really practice grounding in meditation practices, grounding as in walking on earth, grounding as in the foods they eat, eating more root vegetables, foods that will ground them with the physical manifestation of earth. Then in your bodies, if you have a lot of air, like what do you think if I said, I have a lot of air in my stomach? What do you think that would be?
Bloating.
Ooh.
Yeah, bloating, gas. Even constipation, because constipation is your colon is like cold and it's dry. So these are all symptoms of excess vata in the body. Also, you're feeling cold. You have cold hands and feet. You have dry skin, dry hair. Maybe your hair is even falling out. Your menstrual cycle has dried up. Maybe you're getting really far spaced apart periods, or maybe you're not even getting your period anymore. So these are all signs of vata. You may have all of them. That means your vata is really out of balance, or you may just have a few, and that means you just have a few vata imbalancing things. So, but they're both fixed by grounding and by increasing heat. So really what you want are to increase the other two doshas, which I'll talk about. So vata, bloating, gas, constipation, anxiety, insomnia. These are the imbalances. Now, pitta is fire, which I think Tara has more of, but you both are vata pitta, I would say. So
okay,
yeah,
you got that right. Yes,
but you just have more of the fire of the two, because it's all relative, right? So, so fire is you're goal oriented, you are ambitious, you're hardworking, you're structured, you have a routine. You tend to set a goal and get there. Like you will set up the roadmaps to get there. Pittas are very strong leaders. They are great CEOs and entrepreneurs. They have that drive, that fire, that heat, right? But at the same time, when that heat is excess, that can turn into a volcano, essentially. Your heat is erupting. You're, in those little cartoons, right? Like fires coming out of their heads. It's like they're bit imbalanced. So that can turn into anger frustration, irritation, just being like, oh, why aren't people moving as fast as I am? Oh, why aren't they caring as much as I do? Like, why is this person late? Like pittas, they love Google Cal. They love to like set up their reminders and like be like, hey, we're gonna meet tomorrow at like 2:15. Please confirm 24 hours in advance. And at like 2:18, they'll like literally have a heart attack. So pittas in their minds, they're really organized. They probably like to do the Kundalini Kriyas that are like heat building, intense. Like they go to that white tantra festival. They're like the one in the river for like 8 hours. Like that is the pitta there. Like really, really intense, which can, again, help you with leadership, but also lead to just being impatient and frustrated and like addictive behaviors as well. So in the body, that heat will also feel like you're getting literally overheated, first of all. Your digestive system is running too hot. So instead of constipation, you may have loose stools. You may have acidity. Your heart is burning, literally heartburn. You will have acne because heat rises and it tries to leave your skin. So that's going to show up as acne, as rosacea, as irritation. It's just all heat trying to leave your body. Like if you're breaking out in hives, that's a pitta imbalance going on. So just think general irritation, inflammation, aggravation. That's what pitta is like.
Oh yeah, that is definitely something I deal with.
It is. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's in balance. So what
just a lot.
Yeah. So what you need is more cooling, more just like water. Spending time near water, of course, is great for you. Even like a meditation, like have a bowl of water and like stick your hands in it and just let your hands like sway around. Like just feel the weightlessness and the coolness of the water. And I saw your guys' Instagram post yesterday about the cold water showers. That would be very good for Britt, but that would be good for Tara.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I take baths every night too, like to be in the water, but they are warmer. So I'm like, well, maybe I'll do some cold baths. Colder baths to cool down.
Baths are already really cold. Like Britt, do you feel cold often?
Britt definitely has a lot of pit of like fire in her too, but we kind of oscillate. You're right though. She has more of the vata and I have more of the pitta, but we're kind of oscillating. Yeah. Do you though? Do you really get cold?
I don't notice it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we live here in California that luckily we don't get the opportunity to be cold that much.
Right, that's so true. I'm like,
but you'll notice like when you go to New York, like people are like walking around in cute outfits and you're like, oh, shivering. So I know that I lived in Boston, which is like fucking Antarctica. And I would just have such trouble sleeping, especially when I was eating a raw vegan diet, because raw vegan food is cold, dry, rough qualities of vata. And that's what made my vata so out of balance. I would literally put on all the socks, sweaters, everything I could and still be cold to the bone because that coldness was coming from within. So they would not be recommended to do something like cryotherapy or ice baths. Whereas for a pitta, they have so much heat that can feel really good for them. So you want to cool, you want to have more like coconut water and coconut oil and leafy greens, fruits, things that naturally grow in the summer are going to be really good for balancing and hydrating and replenishing the pitta. You don't want to do exercises that are going to build too much heat. Like you don't want to do like tons of the breath of fire. You don't want to be going to Barry's boot camp if you're pitta, because it's going to just make your heat go in overdrive. Instead, doing something that's more like pranayama or a yin yoga practice or just walking outside will be really good. For vatas, they need more strength building. So something like, what's the frog practice in Kundalini where you're like squatting up and down to build muscles in your legs? That would be really good. And then even just like going to a Pure Barre class and like helping build muscle tone, build balance. Vatas tend to have really bad balance and asymmetry in their body, whereas pittas naturally tend to be more athletic. So it's interesting. You see it in every aspect of your life, and it like allows you to kind of scoop in and be like, okay, my pitta's out of balance here, so I'm going to solve it with that. And you can have a difference between your mind and your body, which we could talk about, but lifestyle things for your mind and diet things for your body. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah. And then what about kapha for our kapha listeners?
Yes. So kapha is earth energy. It is grounded, loving, calm. Do you guys ever have guests on your podcasts that talk like this?
Yes. We had one guest that we had to take out a lot of pauses because they were, but he was amazing.
But he was really grounded here.
Very kapha, yes.
And how do you feel when guests talk like this?
I feel like for me, it puts me into a nice state of relaxation.
But it has to be a little balance for me.
Yeah, like for me,
I'm like, okay, come on.
It gives me a little panic attack. I'm like, what are you gonna say? Come on. So kaphas are they're so curious, right? I think of like Taurus, I think of Venus, I think of Lakshmi, I think of that. Whereas Vata is more like Saraswati, Sagittarius, and Pitta is more like Leo, Durga, and kapha is like that like, oh, I'm just going to take my time with things. So grounded, earthy, and earth mama. They're like, what do you think an earth mama looks like?
Earth mama. Oh, just like I feel like it's somebody with their shoes off and maybe like elements of the earth in their hair and their clothes. And I don't know, it just feels like somebody that would maybe love water or being in a forest.
Being in a forest, yeah.
Like never shoes and wear flowy skirts, and they have like a child they're breastfeeding at all times. It's like not even their child. They're just like there. So you totally do that for the earth. They're so grounded, they're connected. Like, oh, I just live in Costa Rica full time. I just live off the earth. This is like an extreme, right?
Yeah,
but
right.
you have that, like, you're like, wow, like that's amazing. Like, how do you do it? Like, we're all frantic and they're just like taking their time and chill, which is a beautiful trait to have. So calm, grounded, peaceful. I think of Oprah energy, right? Oprah is like the ultimate alpha queen. Why do we love her so much? It's not because of like how great she motivated the crowd, but it's how well she listened and she held that space. And kaphas are empaths. They're able to ask a question and sit and listen empathically without, the pitta is going to be like, well, maybe you should do this. So the Doshas is like offers 30 suggestions. And then the vata is like, cool. We're like, yeah, like maybe your soul just doesn't want to do this anymore. Like a esoteric answer. The pitta is like, okay, this is the action plan. Like go. And the kapha is just like, yes. I feel you. I see you. I hear you. And it's all beautiful in different scenarios, right? So Oprah, the earth gives, the earth provides us with resources, oil, gas, water, like everything we need. Earth is like, I got you. And what do we do as humans? We take, cut the trees, take the gas, all those things. And the earth ends up depleted. And this is what happens with kaphas as well. Like Oprah is like, you get a car, everyone gets a car, like literally gives everyone cars. And we're like, why did Oprah not do this in her school? Why did Oprah not do that? Because you're just so used to expecting so much out of kaphas, which can kind of create this like prophecy that they feel like they have to always put people before them. They have to always show up. They have to always be the generous, loving one. Otherwise, the world will collapse because they're the ones who are, holding their families or their group of friends together. So because of this, giving energy, they need to take it in from some source. So oftentimes that leads to emotional eating. Just, taking in, again, calories, whatever they can to stay grounded, which leads to gaining weight. Why do we gain weight? We're holding on to energy somatically on our body, specifically on the hips, thighs, lower body, as well as arms. Arms because you're literally carrying the weight of the world, but legs and hips because it grounds you and it connects you further down to earth. So you start gaining weight. You may feel sluggish, lethargic. You may wake up and not really have energy. It manifests in the throat chakra. So mucus, phlegms, coughs, which can later lead to hypothyroidism. So all of these things are just from excess grounding. A good example is Robin Williams. Robin Williams, is so funny, making the world laugh, has a very kapha face, round face, like a plump body, but like so lovable. But we did not know that he was dealing with depression because probably he felt like it was not safe for him to talk about that because we had this expectation that he's the funny, go-loving guy. So this is why it's so important for kaphas to share their truth, to speak up, to clear out that throat chakra, and also to practice self-care and putting themselves first and stimulating stimulating their minds, stimulating their bodies. So stimulating diet is like ginger, turmeric, all sorts of spices. Just sneak in spices into everything. Have some golden milk, have, some cumin in your guacamole. Just add some spices into your food. And then stimulation in terms of exercise would be like, go to something that has cardio, like go to a Zumba class, go to something that's going to get your heart rate going. Kaphas really need to sweat. They have excess water stored onto them, so they need to sweat to release that. So maybe even going to a class that may feel like a little bit intimidating can be a really good growth journey for kaphas. And then trying new things, going to new places, getting out of your comfort zone. Kaphas tend to have the same friends, live in the same place, just, keep up with their habits for their whole lives because they're like, oh, well, it's all good, so why should I change it? But you don't know what could have been there if you had made that tweak. So keep changing, keep moving things, add more of the vata in, more of the creativity, and add more of the pitta in, more of the fire. So really look at where is your imbalance. What matters most is what's going on with you right now more than what you were born as. What is going on with you now? Is it the vata imbalances, the air, the pitta imbalances, the fire, the kapha imbalances of the earth? And then work on pacifying, reducing that dosha. And I have like a bajillion suggestions in Idiot's Guide to Ayurveda and like every aspect of your life. But the most important thing to know is just to know what dosha is out of balance.
I love that. Thank you so much. I feel like that's so informative for our listeners. And I actually was thinking though, because, I'm predominantly vata pitta, but right now, as you're saying this, I'm like, my kapha is a little out of balance, but we have all three.
Yes.
Right. Even if you're not really born with, or you sort of hang on to more, two of the three, more predominantly, right? So like you could, like my kapha could be off the charts right now, even though that's not really my normal, dosha. What would you call it? Like,
your prakriti, it's called.
Thank you. I'm like, what is that called?
Yeah, exactly. So you're born with like a unique set of all three doshas, and that's called your prakriti. It means natural born constitution. So let's say you were born primarily vata, secondarily pitta, lastly kapha. But then because of your lifestyle, maybe you haven't had time to exercise, and then that leads to you feeling sluggish, and then that leads you to making food choices just for energy, and then that leads to you feeling brain fog, and then it leads to all of the other kapha imbalances. So you can find yourself having a kapha imbalance. You may even take like the quiz on my website and say, oh, I must be a kapha, but you're actually just dealing with the kapha imbalance. Still, you would treat it the same way. You would balance the kapha, but that does not mean you were born like that. So the doshic constitution you were born with is not necessarily the one that you have today.
Got it. Okay. I feel like that's a good thing to clarify.
Yeah, I feel like that's so helpful because it is always changing, of course, with everyone. So you suggest like just looking at what's out of balance and like I'm sure you check in with it every day, but how often would I guess you recommend people kind of checking in with where they're at?
Yeah. So there's so many easy ways to check in. One is your tongue. So I recommend tongue scraping every morning. Tongue scrape is this little like U-shaped device that you can scrape the white stuff, which is mucus. It's called toxins off the coat of your tongue. And just take a look at your tongue. And your tongue is going to tell you what dosha is out of balance. If you're seeing a lot of cracks on your tongue, there's a vata imbalance. If you're seeing a red tip on your tongue, pitta imbalance, or some yellow coating, pitta. If you're seeing a lot of just white all over, kapha is out of balance. You can look at, so many things. How's your poop? Is it dark and small little pieces, like pebbly pieces, constipated, like a deer pebbles? That's vata. Is it loose? Maybe you're going like several times a day and it doesn't even feel fully formed. That's a pitta imbalance. Is it just one long kind of like log? That's kapha. And again, everyone has natural tendencies. Ideally, we should be eliminating like twice a day, and it shouldn't be any of the extremes. But just look at your stool, like have a relationship with that. Have a relationship with your digestion. Are you feeling bloated, gassy, constipated? Vata. Are you feeling acidic? Pitta. Are you feeling lethargic? Water retention? Kapha. So everything you're doing is literally showing you what dosha is out of balance. And then once you just know that, once you have the language for that, then you're like, oh, of course. Like every time I eat the salad, my vata gets out of balance. Oh, every time I have spicy food, my pitta gets out of balance. Oh, every time I have this mac and cheese, my kapha gets out of balance. And then you're able to make better food choices and lifestyle choices.
So helpful.
Yes.
I want to increase the relationship with my poo.
Me too.
Yes. It's a great one to have.
I feel like it's like, okay, but I think it could be a better relationship.
Yeah. It's so funny.
A more conscious relationship.
Yeah. It's like the crystal bowl of what's going on in your internal organs.
The crystal bowl.
It's like telling you, it's like, where else are you going to get like direct information from what's going on inside your body?
That's true. So actually, could you have all three doshas imbalanced at one time too?
Out of balance?
Yeah. Or out of balance.
Yeah. So you can. They're not going to be like in the same place of your body, right? Like you can't be constipated and have diarrhea and have like stools at the same time. So your digestion is going to just be one. So you may have like, for example, a vata imbalance in your digestion, but maybe in your mind, it's more of a kapha imbalance, right? So it's normally the body is all sort of doing one thing, and then sometimes the mind can be doing something else. The most common in today's time is a vata imbalance in the mind and a kapha imbalance in the body. Why? Because mentally we're multitasking. We're doing a million things at once. So that's going to create vata. The body, we're sitting down for long periods of time. We've never done this before. And we're eating much more, taking on much more energy than we're expending. So that's going to create a kapha imbalance. So that's the most common. But again, solve what's going on in your mind with the lifestyle suggestions. So the meditation practices, even like planning your day, like vatas do really well. They could use more structure because they probably don't have structure in their life. So if you're like, oh, I'm just going to figure it out and then nothing ends up being done, add more structure. That's what I really needed to do. And that's what helped me. Whereas pittas may be a little like too structured. Maybe they could use a little bit more space. And then kaphas, they just need to get things going. They need to start. Once they start, they're good, but they're really hard at getting started. Whereas vatas, they're really easy at getting started, but they have a hard time finishing. So we want to be using all three doshas within us. It takes all three to create anything, a business idea. You have to think of the idea, vata. You have to execute it, pitta. And then you have to reevaluate and also rest, kapha. A relationship, you meet and it's exciting, vata. And then you're like, okay, where's this going to go? Like, do you want to get married? Do you want to have kids? Like, what do you want to do? And then that's pitta. And then it turns into like, oh, we're like almost roommates. And then you have to bring the spark going, and that's kapha. So everything I have noticed is moving through this dosha sequence.
Yeah, I love looking at everything like that because it really is just like the cycles that naturally happen. But when you're more and more aware of them, you can kind of like shift and just bring into balance everything in your life on the daily. And just, to me, it's just like higher levels of awareness and consciousness, as we're going throughout our days, because it is so like ever changing. And like you said, like we could have a relationship that's maybe in kapha and then a business that's in, pitta or vata. So just kind of like identifying those differences and then with our minds and our bodies as well.
Absolutely.
So cool.
It kind of reminds me of the God force, the generating, organizing, destroying force too. It's like the same kind of cycle. It's like the vata is the generating, like the ideas. The organizing is the pitta. And then the destroying is like kind of you're not destroying things, but you're kind of like, closing things up, letting things go. And that's the kapha. It's like the same kind of thing.
Yeah, totally. And just reevaluating. And I think for a lot of people who are very entrepreneurial like us, it can be really hard to go into the kapha. That's the one that I have the hardest time with. It's like, okay, well, things are going well and there's more opportunities coming my way. So it's like, when do you stop? But it's only when you stop that the higher self can come through.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think it's so important to have that time to rest and to just like know when you need it kind of like before. Like that's really, I think what I'm trying to work on in a big way is not like getting to that point where you're like, your body and everything is just like, you have to rest. And it goes with so many things in life, but kind of like just being proactive about all of this stuff, I think is really important. You don't want to like have the symptom tell you that your digestion, excuse me, is out of balance.
Absolutely.
Like I'd really love for more people to go in that direction and just become so much more preventative about all of this.
Yeah, it's like living in harmony with the earth and with your body and with your mind and everything. So I like the pairing that we We love Ayurveda as well. I'm not a practitioner like you are, Sahara. So it's fun to hear it from somebody who has done so much work in it, and you have so much knowledge. So I really appreciate that. I think it's fun. It's fun. It's fun to kind of go into the system of Ayurveda because it's a whole system, and like study it and see what's going on in there, and like how I love that it's an ancient practice, and I love that it's coming back to really the mainstream earth now because we need to use it. So I appreciate all the work that you're doing and sharing and really your own journey and learning and all of it. So thank you.
Thank you so much. And yeah, I think all of us, we're practicing Ayurveda and we just don't know it. We're like noticing all these, oh, maybe I should not have this cold smoothie when I wake up. Oh, maybe I should do this. And it's all Ayurveda in practice. And now we just have the terminology for it.
Exactly.
Cool. So true. Awesome. Well, we're so excited for your new book coming out. So that is basically recipes for all of the doshas. Is that right? Maybe you could share a little bit more about it.
Yeah. So, the biggest kind of confusion that I had and a lot of people have with Ayurveda is, well, what do you do if you're a cross between two? Or what do you do if your husband is Pitta and you're Vata, or the seasons shifting, et cetera? And what's interesting is, I spent 2 years living in India with Ayurvedic doctors and everyone ate the same meal. And I was like, well, isn't everyone going to get their own like custom dosha meal? And they're like, no, we cook tri-doshically. So to cook tri-doshically is to make something that works for all three doshas. So how it works is you want to remove something that will imbalance one of the doshas. So for example, Vatas, so no raw food. Pitta, no spicy food. Kapha, no dairy. So you take those out and you create something that's tri-doshic that uses the spices but in balance. And then you don't have to worry about it as much. So I created the whole book to actually be tri-doshic, to make it work for all people, to make it way less confusing. And then I have little things that you can do, like, okay, if you're a Pitta, maybe you can reduce the garlic in this, or maybe you can switch out the onion for fennel bulb, etc. These little things that you can do, but that are still on the same meal. And that just makes Ayurveda so much more intuitive, so much more applicable. And then I've also looked at Ayurveda from today's lens. What are the things that can change? Like in Ayurveda, it says, don't eat food that was cooked more than 3 hours ago. Well, why is that? I looked into it. Because they didn't have refrigerators back then. And if you don't have a refrigerator, of course, you don't eat food that was left out in 120-degree India for 3 hours, because that shit's going to be bad. Or don't eat any raw food in Ayurveda. Why? Well, in India, you will get really sick if you eat raw food, because there are single-cell parasites called amoebas in the soil. So that's why they say cook all your food like for hours, because they're doing antibacterial practices, literally. Whereas in other countries, they've eaten raw foods for thousands of years in blue zones where there are centurions. And they're okay. So I've looked at it from a modern lens. What can change? What remains the same? Like mushrooms in Ayurveda are not allowed. And, there's so many medicinal mushrooms. And even in India, I would get mushrooms all the time and people were eating them. Why does it say don't have it in Ayurveda? And get this, the reason why is actually not from ancient Ayurvedic practices, but it's because when the British rule was controlling India in the 19th century, they saw that there were psychedelic mushrooms growing in India because it's a very hot climate. And they did not want people to ingest the psychedelic mushrooms because who knows, maybe they would like open up their minds and be like, wait, this doesn't make sense. Why are you running my country? So the British basically said, don't eat mushrooms because you'll fall asleep. They're going to make you dull. And then the kind of, in the households, they said, oh, mushrooms are tamasic, which means it makes you dull, makes you tired. But it actually comes from this sort of like fear belief that was placed on in the system. Whereas if you go to Kashmir, North India, like mushrooms are a huge part of their diet. So I looked at it, really did the research of like, okay, what are the things that make sense? What are the things that don't? But the guidelines, the tenets, the really ethos of Ayurveda. Ayurveda is a living and breathing and changing science, and it has always changed throughout history and is continuing to change. Today, we are exposed to GMOs and toxins and chemtrails and all of these things that were not a problem 5,000 years ago, let alone even 100 years ago. They were not a problem. So we need to further alkalize our diet and make these shifts because even if you travel to another country today, you're like, oh, I can eat bread and have no problem. Whereas in the US, there's such hybridization of the crops that you can't. So I look at it from today's lens. How can we practice Ayurveda, make it work for our contemporary world, and still stay true to its tenets?
I love that. It's such an important part of it. I was actually having a conversation about this the other day about a lot of like the dairy that is in a lot of like the Ayurvedic recipes, or you see it in like a lot of what Yogi Bhajan said and things like that. And I was talking to a girl about it, and she's like, it just doesn't feel good in my body. And, we were kind of talking about like, well, one thing to think about is that the dairy industry has changed so much. So the things, that a lot of the stuff that people are eating now is so different from, when they were kind of writing these recipes. So I love that you took all of that into consideration.
Yes. Yeah. Eat, Feel Fresh is totally plant-based. So there's no dairy, there's no ghee, because exactly back then, they had like a neighborhood cow that was like holy because Lord Shiva reincarnated as a bull herder. So cows are considered sacred, literally. And whereas now, even if you go to India, I mean, there's so many starving cows on the street. It's really, really sad. And they're not
so sad.
They eat trash and they're not just treated sacredly. And then here in the US, we have factory farming. So, we take on everything that we eat, and these cows that are bred in captivity and literally raised to be pumped and have their children taken away from them. That's not energy that we want to take on. So we have to look at it to like, what is going on today? What are today's practices? Like, yes, if you have your own pet cow that loves to be milked, drink that milk and it's raw, go for it. But for most of us, that's not the case.
For sure. Oh, wow. I love that. Well, I'm so excited for people to dive into your cookbook and for us to try it, because it's really cool that you did tri-dosha too. Because I'm always like thinking about that as I look at recipes too, because it just makes so much sense. And I love that you kind of have variations for people that they can easily change it.
Totally. I think us as women, especially, we spend so much time stressing about what we're going to eat. And literally, I created this cookbook so you can just stop thinking about it and you can focus on doing your dharma and being the best version of you.
Love it. Take all of that indecision out of our minds.
Yeah. It is a lot.
So much.
Well, so awesome. Well, thanks for everything. We have a couple last questions that we always ask. So the first one is like, what is your favorite way to elevate yourself?
For me, it's nature. Nature is just the ultimate teacher and healer for me. So getting outside as much as I can. Love it.
The kapha.
Yes.
And the last question we always ask is if you were on stage and everyone was listening to you, the whole world was listening to you, and you had a microphone in your hand, what would you say? What would you leave the world with?
Yeah, I would just say that you were born with unique gifts that you were meant to share on this planet, and it is your one and only duty to share those gifts.
Yes.
Love it. Well, and thank you so much again, Sahara. This has been such a fun conversation and enlightening in so many ways. So
it really is. I love the way that you describe all of the doshas and how you just bring it. It's so balanced between all the doshas. The way that you teach it.
Oh, thank you. Yes. Yeah. I mean, it's so important for us to just, like as you guys are doing, like learn more about these ancient practices. And I think for a lot of people, it starts with like the regular vinyasa yoga, and then maybe they learn about Kundalini, and maybe they learn about Ayurveda. So if these things interest you, like keep diving into them, keep dipping your toe in them. Don't think about like, oh, am I going to make this a career or not? Just do it purely out of passion. And then you'll see the universe will guide you in the direction that your soul really signed up to be here for.
Exactly. We could not agree more.
Yes.
So where can people find you, Sahara?
Yeah. So a good place to start is to take my dosha quiz on my website, and that will tell you the percentages of your dosha in your mind and in your body. And that's on my website. I am sahararose.com. And my Instagram is the same at I am Sahara Rose. And I have a podcast called Highest Self Podcast, which I'm so excited to interview you ladies on. And that's also on iTunes or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Amazing.
Great. Well, thanks so much for everything. And we love you.
Oh, thank you.
have it. That was Sahara Rose. And we really hope you guys got something good out of that episode for you specifically. Ayurveda is a very personal practice and journey. So definitely head over to her website and take her quiz.
Yeah, no, it's a great quiz. She has so many good resources, and we love, love, love Ayurveda. I actually learned about it first during Kundalini teacher training because so many of the Kundalini lifestyle recipes and practices that Yogi Bhajan practiced and taught as a part of the curriculum are based in Ayurveda. And he did tweak it a little bit, but that's what he studied. And that's the lifestyle that he lived and was taught growing up. And so it's so interconnected and it's such a big part of our lifestyle in so many different ways. And we love sharing our recipes every season in 528 Academy. And I really liked what Sahara said about checking in daily using your tongue and your stool, because the thing is it changes all the time, you know? So like, even though I'm Vata Pitta and typically more Vata, a lot of days, I do have too much heat in my body because my Pitta is out of balance. So then I know that I do need, a cold shower or a smoothie specifically, but we can kind of just use our intuition with these practices and see where we're at, even though, you might be Pitta or Vata, you might be in balance. So, that's the thing. Like a lot of times people will ask if I, have certain symptoms and I won't have them. Although I have others, like my skin is drier, but I won't have a lot of the other symptoms of dryness. So you kind of just have to dive into it and kind of have those checks and balances every day. But our intuition really guides us. And that's another reason why we love Kundalini, because it's such a complementary practice, but it also increases our awareness and our consciousness and our intuition, so that we can like really tap into like, hey, what is out of balance today? And then use these incredible tools, so many that Sahara talked about, to really bring us back in balance. And of course, meditation is such a big one to really bring us back into balance. So it's just amazing, really. It's an incredible technology.
And I love that it's just really something tangible that you can use every single day. It's just another tool, and it's just another way for you to actually understand your body, your energy, what's going on with you, so you can be more in harmony with the earth, which is what we're always doing with the astrology. We're trying to be in harmony with the energies that are here available to us on the planet right now. So this is sort of just a nice practice of mirroring all, well, that and Kundalini too. It's like a marriage of three things.
It is. Well, and it's so important for our health and our wellness, you know?
Definitely. So again, we hope you guys got something really wonderful out of that, and know that you can go so deep into Ayurveda, and we can really scratch the surface on so many things. But if you have any interest, again, go deeper into this and get Sahara's book, read more about it, start studying it more, and see what happens.
Yes.
It's time for Lobby Talk.
So we are back in the lobby, and today we have Elizabeth O'Neill with us, who is a Rise Up alum, and she is going to be sharing a little bit about her experience with the whole program, and she is calling in right now from Italy. So thank you so much for joining us, Elizabeth.
No problem, anytime.
We're so happy to have you. And we loved watching your whole video that you really shared your heart all about Rise Up, that's on our website. So we're excited for people to check it out. But we'd love for you to share just maybe your top 3 things that you really loved about Rise Up.
Okay. So that's hard to do 3. But if I had to pick 3, the first thing I would pick is I love the magic morning ritual. So that was my favorite thing to do every single day. The second thing I loved would be the soul work. sort of delving into what was really going on inside. And 3, I really, really loved the community. I loved the community, the friendships I made, and the friendships I made with you two as well. That's my 3.
We love that.
I know. So hard to pick 3, but those are 3 great ones.
Great. So then we love your story so much, and we would appreciate it if you could just share a little bit about what your life was like before you started Rise Up.
Okay, so before I started Rise Up, I just had a little boy. So he was about 8 months old when I found Rise Up. And prior to having a baby, I was in a fairly good place mentally. I was a career person. I was very ambitious, and everything seemed to be going okay, I would guess. I got pregnant. I had a really good pregnancy, and then after I had my son, very, very rapidly, I got postnatal depression. Really rapidly, I would say within a few weeks, it was extremely apparent. I was diagnosed with severe postnatal depression. They gave me the most severe marker they can give you. I was on antidepressants. I wasn't leaving the house. I wasn't answering the phone. I literally was sitting in my living room with the curtains shut. I lost all desire to. I was always very goal orientated. I had no goals. I basically just didn't want to do anything. I basically just wanted to get through the day, make sure I did the right thing for my son, even though I didn't feel a connection, but I knew I had to do the right thing. And then I wanted to just drink wine to self-medicate at night. So yeah, I was just like, I guess I would say numb. It's probably the best word for where I was before I found Rise Up. I was numb.
My goodness. And I do remember you telling us about that in the Facebook group when you first joined. So what is your life now like afterwards?
And
I know you've done it a couple times too.
Yes. So I've gone through Rise Up 4 times. I've done 2 group rounds, and I've done 2 myself. Where am I at now? So I do not have postnatal depression at all. I don't take antidepressants. So I was able to come off the antidepressants after the first round. I have such a zest for life. I am making so many new friends. I make a lot of them online, actually, because I'm really finding probably more of a tribe online, but I'm making loads of friends. I absolutely adore my son. Like, I couldn't be more in love with him. My relationship with my boyfriend is better because obviously having postnatal depression had a big impact on him and myself. So we're in an amazing place. I have one business that I have for myself. So I do crystal healing and chakra healing now for people. I manifested another business that I'm just working on at the moment. I am pregnant with a second baby. I also manifested with the tools that I was taught from Rise Up. What else? I'm vegetarian, so I managed to cut out meat. So I still eat eggs and I still eat cheese, but I don't eat meat products. I'm just in a completely great place.
My gosh, that's incredible, Elizabeth.
I know. I'm like,
it's crazy.
We're like both tearing up again, and
that was 10 months. That's only 10 months. That's crazy. That Rise Up's done. 10 months that all is in.
It's honestly like why we're doing what we're doing and why it's so important for us to share this, but we can't hear your story without bawling crying because it really, I don't know, it just makes us so happy to hear that. And it's such a big transformation. And I mean, look at all the changes that you've had from all of the commitment and the work that you've done and everything that you really put into it.
Yeah, it's been amazing. So thank you.
And then you meditate so much all the time now. Had you ever done Kundalini or yoga at all or meditation at all before? I forgot if you had or not.
No, I'd never done Kundalini yoga. I had dabbled in the odd yoga class. I had never been able to do meditation. I had always been one of those, like I would say, when you say if people are type A or type B, I would have classed myself as type A. I was always sort of like, oh no, I can't sit down and do that. No. Oh, I can't quiet my mind. It had never even crossed my mind to try and meditate. So,
man, I love it.
Which is why it's so crazy that I went down this route. It's just so amazing.
It really is. We hear that all the time. People wanting to get into meditation or yoga or try Kundalini, and they think that they can't because of that reason that you said. So it's really great to hear that you really did start this journey without hardly any experience before, and you were able to just really dive into it all.
Yeah. And I actually found, if there's anyone listening who feels like that, I actually found that doing the meditation, at first, I couldn't shut my mind off. So I'm not going to lie. My mind would be like, am I doing this right? How long have I got left? And then over time, I just completely was able to quiet my mind and do it. So it's definitely possible.
Oh man, I'm sort of like taken back by that, just because we do hear it so often that, I still have some friends in my life that have a hard time with it. And so, I just love hearing that it's completely possible. And especially you were in such a low place with everything that you did it. And, that's pretty miraculous to me. And I just appreciate your story so much.
Yeah. Like, and it was, again, I'm not going to tell a fib. It wasn't easy. Like some mornings I do not want to do this. I don't want to do it. And I was like, no, come on, you have to show up for yourself. And it got, the more I did the magic morning ritual, the more I wanted to show up. So I guess if you can just keep showing up, it will click. It will click.
Right. Yeah, that really is where the power lies with anything in life. Of course, it's like the more you put in, the more you get out of it. But that's what we found. It's like if you just keep doing it, you start to gain that momentum and it starts to get easier and starts to become a habit. And it's just about kind of taking those first steps and really pushing yourself in the beginning to get on your mat and really show up, like you said.
Yes.
So was there anything that was kind of like in your mind stopping you when you were deciding to sign up? I know a lot of people kind of ask us questions like, I'm not sure if I should do this right now. I feel called to it. But, there's a lot of times fear can come in when we're making any big change or any big investment in ourselves. So did you deal with that at all? Or did you just know right away that you were supposed to do it? How is that for you?
So interestingly, I didn't have any fears around it, which I normally would think, should I do this? I would go back and forth. So this is a thing that I still wish I could figure out why I did. I did the Raise Your Vibration Challenge. And I got to the end of that and I was like, I already feel somewhat better. I'm not stopping. And I literally that same day, I did day 7 and then I was like, that's it. And then I signed up for Rise Up and I never looked back. I just started straight away.
Oh, wow. I love that. I know you, I just remember watching your whole story in the Facebook group and it's just gorgeous. So if you have, what would you tell anyone who is potentially on the fence for joining?
You really, really would not regret signing up for this course. It is life-changing. It will, I guess, it'll make you better in whatever way you want to be better. So there's no, you don't need to have any expectations on it. It's a one-size-fits-all course. So even if you're sitting there and you're not even really sure what you want to get out of Rise Up, you'll get something out of it. And if you're sitting at home and you're like, I know exactly what I want to do, you'll get that as well. I know this sounds really vague, but it's like you won't go wrong. The tools in this course will transform your life as much as you want it to, and more. There'll be subconscious changes that you didn't even prepare yourself for. I have used it 4 times over. I've used it consistently for a year. It has impacted my child. My toddler is so elevated that it's crazy. My mom is wanting to invest. My mom's doing yoga. My boyfriend wants to do meditation with me. It will impact not just your life. It will impact people around you. And I think that's enough to invest. The changes it'll make, whether you want them or not, if that makes any sense. I don't know if that sounded clear, but...
Oh, yeah.
Yes,
yes.
it did. It's just so inspirational. I feel like anybody listening, no matter what, can really be so inspired by your journey and your story, especially, as a mama, and just the fact that you were able to, heal and go through all of that, which is extremely difficult. I can only imagine. And, just do this inner work, go within and really transform everything. It is a miracle, and it's so inspirational for everybody and anybody listening. So we honestly cannot thank you enough for being so brave and open, and for sharing your story with us, and for adding so much value and being such an amazing part of our community.
Well, I just don't want anyone else to, I always think I don't want anyone to feel like I did and be sat in a room thinking this can't be it. And actually it's not it. And it doesn't have to be postnatal depression that you're suffering with. My story is transferable. There's a community there's a community here, and there's a support network, and there's tools. So I don't know. I want to say, like, what are you waiting for? Basically.
Well, thank you so much, Elizabeth. So where can people find you?
So I really am just on Instagram. So I'm on Instagram, and my username, it's Zen and a playpen. So Zen *and a playpen. Zen and a playpen.
Amazing.
Great.
Thank you so much again, Elizabeth. And we love you.
Yeah, we love you so much. We'll talk to you soon.
So we hope you guys loved that discussion with Elizabeth. It was very inspirational, had me kind of in awe. And it's just, she's not the only one in the community that's had an experience like this. But, we love how she shares it and what she's gone through, and how it's helped her really move, how Rise Up has really helped her move through all this really fast in, like she said, 10 months. That's pretty crazy.
It really is. I mean, some people struggle with things like depression and postpartum for years. And the fact that she was able to rise up really and like come out of those and heal herself and her whole family. And now she's doing great work in the world. It is a miracle. It's an absolute miracle. And it's why we do this work. So many people on the planet are facing things like postpartum depression and different forms of that, in different ways, and fear and guilt. And
and definitely like at night wanting to just numb it all with some wine. And the thing is like, she didn't want that, right? So she didn't want that for herself. So that was her mindset. So she, I think it's like everyone has different mindsets around different things, but for her, she wanted something more. And she went in with us and really came out in a place where she's really happy, and she's changing people's lives around her by just being happier. So
and that's how it works.
That's exactly how it works. So
that's what we've experienced in our life. And it's really what happens when you dive in and heal and do this great work. You're able to show up in a bigger way for yourself, heal and increase your awareness and your happiness. And then you influence everyone around you. And, people start to be attracted and want to know what you're doing and want to get involved in their own ways. And that's one of the most beautiful things that we've found about this practice, is really seeing our families and our friends and everyone in this community kind of come along and elevate themselves, And
that's how we really create massive, massive change on the planet. So this has been quite the episode. And we are actually recording this on my birthday. So happy birthday to me.
Yes, happy birthday. We're in Palm Springs at Karakia, which we're highly obsessed with.
Yes,
if anybody needs amazing place to go to in Palm Springs.
Yeah, there's a Mediterranean side and a Moroccan side. And so we're staying on the Mediterranean side, hanging out and celebrating my birthday and working, because we always love to work because we love what we're doing and we love you guys. And with that, may the pure light within you guide your way on.
Sat Nam.
Sat Nam.
Love you.
Love you all.